Hey everybody, this is Brandon Ford and welcome to the Blind Rage podcast. This week is a very special episode. I am doing The Loved Ones, and I also have a very special guest who I flew all the way in from Adelaide, Australia, just to do this commentary with me. And after it's over, he's flying all the way back, the 22 hours. And we have Tony, a.k.a. the Thunder from Down Under. Tony, say hi.
G'day, this is Tony. Lovely to be here with you today.
Very, very happy to have you, especially since this movie has some significance to you, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yes.
So I'm just calling you Tony because I don't know how you would prefer to be known. Because I know you're incognito over there.
Well, and my last name is quite hard to pronounce, being my Croatian background. It's Tony Nesretin, so Tony is just fine.
Okay, so you'll just be Tony or Thunder from Down Under.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's good as well.
Yes, absolutely. So it's quite cold in Adelaide. Are you keeping warm?
Yeah, it's I don't know how to describe it in Fahrenheit. It's 17 degrees Celsius here today, so it's a bit chilly, but not too bad.
No, well that's good. And you are because we met in the Facebook group, so you are a longtime fan of the genre.
Yes, oh, absolutely. I like I keep telling people, I've got two older sisters who really raised me, and they were big horror fans. So I was basically introduced to Nightmare on Elm Street at the age of 5, and carried on from there. I grew up watching it through hands over my eyes, and decided in my teens to rewatch it to sort of get over that fear, and really got into enjoying it. So.
Yeah. A Nightmare on Elm Street seems to be the gateway drug for a lot of people.
Yes, definitely. It's the heroine of horror.
Yeah. And what other ones did you get into after?
Well, it really, that one specifically opened me up to Wes Craven's older movies. And for the longest of time, I was a fan of The Hills Have Eyes. And later got into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was really one of my favorites, and one that will go down in history. And I'm enjoying the recent ones, the even the more subtler ones that are coming out more recently. Like I watched The Witch last night, which I enjoyed. So I'm keeping up with the old ones, but also trying to stay with the new ones as well.
So you have a pretty expansive knowledge then.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
How is the horror scene in Australia? How do you think?
Well, definitely after Wolf Creek came along, it really ballooned the industry. Before that, we had like a small one called Cut, which came out with Kylie Minogue as a cameo. But since then, they've sort of redone some of the old 80s and 70s exploitation horrors that we had. But yeah, I think we're finding our feet with the horror genre internationally. So that makes me happy about it.
Are you familiar with a movie called Allison's Birthday?
No, I don't think I have seen that one. What's that one about?
That is an Australian horror movie from 1979.
Yeah.
And it starts out with a seance with these teenage girls, and one of the participants, I believe, gets possessed, and she warns Allison of a evil presence that is looming over her and will be coming for her on her, I think it's her 16th birthday or her 18th birthday.
Yeah.
But it's more of a thriller, and it's not a very
I'll have to give that one a
well-known
look-see.
movie.
Sounds good.
I believe it's on YouTube. But yeah, it's not very well known. I don't even think it's on DVD here.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
It sounds like a better Australian horror from the 70s. Some of the older ones were quite drug influenced. So there was one of them where someone was being stalked by an ice cream van. So
oh, well, that actually sounds good.
I'll have to look up the name. It was in a documentary about Ozploitation. But
what do you think of Next of Kin? Yeah.
Again, that's another one I haven't seen. Yeah, you're reminding me of all the ones that I'd like to watch.
Yeah, that's a haunted house one.
Oh, is that sort of almost Shining influenced?
No, I wouldn't say that.
There was one, it was sort of a Shining influence where they blow it up at the end.
It's very much a slow burn. You really have to have a lot of patience with that one, I think.
Yeah, we'll definitely give that one a look. Check it out on YouTube. We don't have an excellent streaming service down under, so there's a lot of fingers crossing for YouTube availability.
What about Tubi? Are you able to get that?
We do have Tubi, but even in saying that, I notice there are some movies available on Tubi, the international, and then I'll look it up in Australia and it's not available. There was one that I saw last night. I forget the name of it now, but yeah, looked quite interesting about a boy who finds out his older brother is a serial killer, but not yet available in Australia.
Oh, is that Found?
Yes, that's the one. Yes, I could. It's a single.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's a single word name. Oh, okay. So maybe I won't give it a go.
It is so bad. You don't want to. You're not missing anything at all.
Yeah.
It's strictly amateur hour. The acting is painful, and there's a movie within the movie. Because the brother his thing is he decapitates people and he keeps the heads in a bowling bag and the brother stumbles upon the head. And what inspired it was a movie that brother rented called Headless. And I think you see clips of it on the TV because the little brother ends up watching it and they ended up making that into a feature.
Yeah.
I haven't given that one a chance because Found was so bad. But it did get some accolades. I don't know why. But people did like it.
The amateur Razzies.
There you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lapse into my usual spiel, and then we're going to get started with The Loved Ones, because I'm very excited to hear your anecdotes and thoughts on the movie, as I'm sure everybody else is, being that you're an Aussie. And so I'd like to begin by encouraging all the listeners out there to check out my titles on Amazon.com and the Amazon app by typing in Brandon Ford. You'll find my author page as well as a number of my titles, including my most recent titles. He Wore a Leather Jacket, which was just released, and we have The Mystery of Kelly Christopher and Progressive Entrapment, and a slew of others. I also have titles on Audible on audible.com and the Audible app. Just type in Brandon Ford. You'll find them easily. And if you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford. You can also follow me on Twitter at Brandon Ford, as well as Letterboxd at Brandon Ford. And Tony, you are on Letterboxd as well.
Yes.
Do you want to give your
well,
name,
I'm just getting started. It's Tony the Bear.
There's some underscores.
Go ahead if you want to give it a go.
There.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll have to figure it out.
Tony underscore the underscore bear. I believe that's how it works. So look up Tony. He just posted his first review recently for Be Kind Rewind, a classic if ever there was one.
It was a wonderful film, and I'm disappointed in myself it took so long for me to get to it, but...
Okay. All right, so we are going to get started with the loved ones. As always, we're going to do a 3 count. So if you want to watch along, make sure you have your movie queued up. And because I'm going to start, or we are going to start. Are you ready, Tony?
Yes, I've got it on the button.
We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, play. Now, before we get into anything, there is something that I noticed when I was going over this movie. This is one of many films in the horror and suspense genre that begins with a car crash as a catalyst for the story.
Yes.
And so what I did was I made a list. And this is not a very extensive list, but it is a list of movies that I was able to come up with off the top of my head, and movies that I have in my personal collection that also begin with car crashes. So, first we have The Babadook. And we have Raw. We have Inside. The Descent. Brain Scan. Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker. Campfire Tales. The Toolbox Murders, the original. Hell High, even though that begins with a motorcycle accident, but I'm going to count it anyway. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is an extended sequence that leads to a car accident, but nevertheless, that scene is the one that propels the film, so I'm going to count that one too. Unspeakable. Blown Away, which is an erotic thriller with the Coreys. Misery. So that's quite a lot of movies that have car wrecks as
the car crash as the
impetus. Yeah.
Well, with the going with the screenwriting 101, I think a lot of the writers, they like to start with an incident to get things going, and I think in real world scenarios, the car accident would be the one that people are most likely affected by.
Yeah, I would say it is on the relatable or easily identifiable side, but I prefer it if you try to be a little more original and not go by the screenwriting 101 guide and just do your own thing. So now This was written and directed by Sean Byrne, who also did
Yep.
What was it?
The Devil's Candy.
The Devil's Candy. Thank you.
Yep.
Devil's Candy with Ethan Embry. That was an American production, and this one was shot in Adelaide.
No. This is shot in Melbourne, which is the next major city over.
Oh. And I thought I'd done my research.
The lead actor is from Adelaide. That's how I know the guy.
Yes. So that was a good segue. So, yes, Tony is familiar with the lead, Xavier Samuel.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you guys went to school together.
Yes, and they say you should never trust someone with two first names. Or is that just an urban legend?
That must be an Australian thing.
Yes, could be. Yeah, we both went to the same high school together in the same year.
And what are your memories of him?
We ran in different circles, but he was the cheeky drama type. But a few classes together and a few assignments together, but definitely not friends. However, after high school finished, I did give him a lift to a uni once, and just because he was waiting for the bus, and when you know someone, you say hello.
Sure. But yeah, I did see in his Wikipedia that he has quite a bit of theater under his belt. So
yes.
he was in drama and did a lot of stage productions in school.
Yes, we had an excellent theatre director at that school who, fortunately for us, he left as we were finishing year 12. So I felt quite lucky that I got to have him as my English teacher and Xavier as his drama teacher. But yeah, we watched some of the stage productions that they had at school, and it was always a standout. In some of them, I do remember one. A few of the boys did get topless, and it was a nice awakening.
Oh, okay. And was Xavier one of them?
Yes, he played a convict, I reckon.
Oh, so what?
We've got the whole convict past.
Did they do?
The one that I remember was it was just because it was an all boys school. They would bring in girls from the next school over, and this one was like a love story / look at early convict life in Australia.
So it wasn't. They didn't do a lot of more well-known productions. They did original material.
Well, it was original by way of locally sourced. I don't recall any, say, like Midsummer Night Dream or anything like that. We would do that type of stuff in drama class, but not as the production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it did say in his Wikipedia that he had quite a bit of Shakespearean training, I guess.
Well, I think there is a fairly good university where they do teach drama, and I'm quite sure that's where he went. I think Flinders University, and they've got a very good a drama school. And one of his first movies was a movie called 237, which was directed by another boy from my high school, which we talked about the other day. I haven't seen 13 Reasons Why, but it reminds me of the type of storyline that was.
Ah. Wow.
I'll pick you up at 7.
So, what was your reaction to seeing him on screen after going to school with him for all those years?
Well, I was trepidatious, if that's the right word, about seeing some of his movies because sometimes when you know someone, you know how they behave, and I wasn't sure if I could get into the role that he was playing, but I certainly did. I completely forgot that I knew him while I was watching it. It's a sign of a good actor where you can get lost in a character like that.
Yes, I would say so. Now, as for the loved ones, he is what, about 26 here? And
Yeah,
he's
he'd been
playing a high school student.
No, well, what? I should know this better. I feel that he might have been in his low 20s. Because if we're about the same age, this was made in 2009. So 12 years ago, that would be, 25, 24.
She doesn't even have a
Mm-hmm. What do you think of his girlfriend? I think she's a bit sleazy.
What's the difference? It's still a car. I'm still in a car.
Well, for the longest time, I actually thought that this was sort of set in a country town. And so looking at it from that angle, I kind of felt that they had a good connection and it was less sleazy and more just how shall I say, is when I was born in a country town and we left when I was quite young. However, what I had read about the town I was born in is that a lot of girls her age were getting pregnant just for fun. Like, because there's nothing better to
God. Well, that's no good.
Well, and also, I think it was around the time where the government was giving a grant for people who had a full-term pregnancy. You got money to help raise the baby. Not that it was entirely that motivated, but...
Oh, good.
I mean, Whyalla is a bit of a boring town, if anyone's been there.
But, one thing that kind of bothers me about this story is he's quite nice to Lola, don't you think?
I do, and I was thinking about that as I was watching it the other day, but carry on.
Yes, I mean, like, I think it would make a lot more sense for her to do what she does ultimately if he was nasty to her, but he was very nice, he was very polite, he even apologized a few times, even though he really didn't have anything to apologize for. But I don't know.
Well,
I guess Lola doesn't like to be disappointed.
Well, but I also see that as a good part of the film is that it's not about her being a victim of because she's not an unattractive girl for one thing, and she's just what would come across as shy in high school. But to me, it sort of shows that she is someone where if she wants it, she'll take it regardless. It's I thought it was
That's
more
a fair point.
a look at her psychosis than her rejection.
I could see some echoes of I don't know if they were intentional or not. I would say the first one being Jeffrey Dahmer, that had to have been on purpose because there is a scene when she drills a hole in his head and prepare to put hot water.
Yes.
But that had to have been intentional.
Yeah.
But also with the bodies under in that hole, it kind of had at least for me, a people under the stairs vibe. And
Oh yeah, and I was thinking also maybe John Wayne Gacy element to that. Not that they were dead, because he used to keep a lot of bodies under the house, I reckon.
Yes, it was a crawl space. But they were buried.
Yeah.
So that I don't know. But also I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Motel Hell,
Motel
but
Hell.
the,
Yes.
yeah, because of the way the people who were buried up to their necks had I don't know exactly what I don't remember what he did to them, but he did something to their vocal cords so that they couldn't scream, and they just had this weird raspy wheeze. But I think for the most part, though, making it so the victims are or the characters who are victims in these kinds of movies, 9 times out of 10, they're gagged in some way, but you almost never see them make their captors impossible for them to speak the way Lola does. So I thought that was an original concept.
Yeah. But I frankly reckon that's one of the reasons why I quite like the movie is I'm not a huge fan of victims screaming for their of people screaming for their survival.
But you love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre so much.
Yeah, but in saying that, how her dinner table scene, I feel was such a good hark back to the cows at the abattoir. It was almost an inhuman screaming for survival, as opposed to the more remakes where they're begging the family for help. It's people are always never past that point of let me out of here. They're always at the bargaining point in the newer movies. It never gets to that level of desperation.
Right. And I don't know if male victims have the same kind of effect when they scream in these kinds of movies.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, too, that I think makes this one unique is you don't really see male characters being abducted and held against their will the way Xavier's character, what is it, Brent?
Yes. Oh. Yes, Brent.
But yeah, I do see echoes of Chainsaw in this as well because of the family, because there is a bit of an incestuous inbred type vibe you get from them, especially from the father, and isn't stated at one point that she does have a sexual relationship with him.
Well, there is one scene in the movie where I believe it's when they're slow dancing, and the zoom in is above, towards their heads, and I could almost feel like there's some under the camera action going on. And there's like a real sexualization between Princess and Xavier, and also just how Princess treats Princess, how she treats her mother in front of the father.
Yeah.
And again, with the Texas Chainsaw reference, I feel the whole dinner table scene had a lot of echoes of Chainsaw Massacre for me, specifically with the mother reminding me of the grandfather, and also there's a presence of a hammer.
Yes.
Have you seen him? Hi, Carla.
That's true. That's a good point.
Oh.
Yeah, so I definitely think Sean took a lot of inspiration from other films, but they weren't in your face that you could classify them as being a ripoff.
Yeah, and I think that how he did it, if he did do it, is it wasn't a direct. Say, for instance, the Texas Chainsaw. How I see the Texas Chainsaw reference, that's not the type of movie this is. However, if it was, then it would be a ripoff where it's utilizing it in another way.
Yeah. I think it's, especially filmmakers, horror filmmakers of this decade, especially. I think it's impossible to say that they couldn't have been inspired by Chainsaw, because I think that movie inspired so many people to make so many films. And I think almost all of us grew up on it.
Well, I think, they say to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader. And to be a good filmmaker, true, I think you need to watch good films.
That's true. Yes, but also we talked about this with James on another commentary, because there are certain filmmakers like Eli Roth and like Rob Zombie who claim to have a very vast knowledge of the genre, but they really don't make good films. So it could go one way or the other, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. And I also, leaning away from that, some of the best horror movies, in my opinion, have been directed by visiting directors. Say, for instance, like I would even say, like Steven Spielberg's isn't a horror director, but Jaws is considered way up there. And I'd say even Alfred Hitchcock didn't really do horror until Psycho, but that's one of the most respected movies out there. Jonathan Demme, even.
Jonathan Demme.
Yes.
But yes, that's interesting too, because because of Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock was known after the fact as being this master of suspense when he really didn't do very many before. And then I think he rode that train, so to speak.
Yeah. Before that was like the North by Northwest and Dial M for Murder type of movies.
Right. But he did do suspense very well, I think.
Yes. And I think knowing suspense makes you a better horror movie director than knowing gore.
Yes. Yeah, because gore is easy.
Yeah, and cheap.
It's cheap. That's true. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's easy and it's cheap, but you really have to know how to set up camera angles and how to write a good story and build suspense if you're going to make a decent horror or suspense film. And
yes, exactly.
I can go either way with gore. It's not something that I ever really sought. I was a little squeamish when I was younger, and so I didn't really go for...
During which one, sorry?
A lot of because my video store had a lot of the cannibal movies from the 70s and a lot of extreme horror, Italian cinema. And while I didn't embrace those at the time, I kind of wish that I did now, or I wish I had the ability to now, because I would like to branch out further with especially with foreign cinema.
Well, and the French are doing quite well now, and the Japanese, yeah, with the body horror.
Yes. I have to say that Audition is one film that I'm really, really disappointed that I didn't get to see when my vision was better.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I feel that may be one that is not available in Australia. I could be wrong, but yes, there is still some censorship issues that happens with getting movies down to Australia.
Oh. So do you have, can you think of any movies that were banned?
Well, I really only know the ones that were banned and brought eventually. For instance, even the original Last House on the Left was banned, and that only came about, I think, in the 2000s. And Salo, which is an Italian fascism movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that the Serbian film is banned.
I think that is actually banned here, too.
Oh, okay.
Which says a lot. I know that there was a company that did a limited edition. I can't think of the company. It's one of the smaller companies that have been doing like 4K restorations of more obscure films or films that didn't have a very wide release, and giving them the star treatment, so to speak. But they were selling it via their website, and they did have it up on Amazon, but it was taken down within a couple of days.
Was it Umbrella Entertainment?
There's certain. It might have been.
Well, they definitely do a lot of the weird release DVDs. Like all of the Argentos have been released by Umbrella, and some of the older 70s horror, like Maniac.
We have Blue Underground did Maniac here on Blu-ray, and they also did some Argento. They did the Stendhal Syndrome, and I believe Suspiria.
Yes.
Some of his I think they did Phenomena as well.
Yes. Now, I'll just quickly say, while I get the chance, I love every car in this movie. I could easily drive anyone. But this must be a very Australian thing to appreciate the good engines.
I would think so.
Well, it's while we were able to catch a Mad Max driving so well.
Yeah. And road games as well.
Yes. Speaking of, there was a horror movie that Xavier Samuel was in before this, involving it. I really should have looked it up. But it was another horror movie about a possessed truck.
Oh. There's a handful of those. I know that was
Well, I only recently watched Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. I haven't because I've heard it's so terrible.
Yeah, it's a bit terrible.
And I don't know, I guess Stephen King wanted to step behind the lens and direct his own adaptation because he was taking a page
Well,
from
after his
Clive
hissy fit with The
Barker's
Shining.
book. Well, there's that too, but Clive Barker had done Rawhead Rex, and I think he did something else before Hellraiser as well. And I believe Maximum Overdrive was around the same time as Hellraiser, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. I do remember when the Hellraiser tapes came out, and it was in the double, the double cassettes, because it came with 1 and 2.
I
wish for you too.
Are you a fan of the Hellraiser franchise?
The originals. So I watched definitely 1 and 2, and a fan of them. But then after that, I hardly remember the rest of them. They sort of lost interest in me, and the other way around. Are you?
No, I never was. I didn't really like Clive Barker's brand of horror because it was a little too out there for me. Things like Nightbreed and such, and getting back to Salo, there is a fair bit of sadomasochism in Clive Barker's films as well as his books, and I'm not offended by it. It's just not my cup of tea.
It almost becomes kink at some stage, which I'm
does,
happy to indulge in. But if you're not into it, then you're not into it.
This is true. and there is there's a lot of homoerotic undertones in the original Hellraiser that go hand in hand with the sadomasochism. And so I don't know, but there's sadomasochism, but there's a little too much blood in those movies, I think.
Yeah.
To be classified as just a little good old fashioned S&M. But
yes, it crossed a line.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I heard a funny story on a podcast. I wish I could remember which one it was, but the director of Hellraiser 3, I believe, was Anthony Hickox, and he ended up going on to do the sequel to Warlock, Armageddon.
Okay. Yeah.
And he cast the same girl. I can't remember her name. But I guess he liked
from
working
Warlock
with her,
or
so
from
he cast
Hellraiser?
her. She was in Hellraiser 3,
Yep.
and then she went on to do the Warlock sequel. She was also on an episode of Seinfeld. Funnily enough, when we're talking about homoeroticism in horror, she was on the episode of Seinfeld when the journalist wrote the article in the college newspaper saying that Jerry was gay. So there was that. But
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's exactly, yes. But getting back to the story that I heard, one of the hosts of this podcast, he worked for JCPenney taking orders over the phone, and she actually called, and I don't remember what her name, again, I can't remember her name, but he said, "Are you the same so-and-so who was in Warlock Armageddon?" And her response was, "You saw that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he didn't want to fanboy out too much on her, so he didn't really, ask her any questions, and she's. I think he asked her a few, and then she was like, "Can I place an order now?" And she was ordering some stuff for her kids. But I think that's funny, though, how that can happen if you work for call centers, because sometimes you do get phone calls from celebrities. Because I heard another story about somebody who was working at a call center for American Express, and John Landis called and was not very friendly.
Maybe he was fangirling.
So,
well, I used to, not that they were big celebrities, but I used to work at the airport and meet a few of the acts that would come and perform at the local stadiums. And generally people were nice, but I was serving drinks, so.
We have to have some names.
The only ones I can remember, we had Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, and
oh god, that's nothing to brag about.
Well, that's what I was saying. They weren't like AAs, and at the time they were popular. There was the band Jet, and they had the big hit "Are You Gonna Be My Girl," and they came through and got a few vodka lime and sodas. And that's about the extent of my star fucking. It's not that interesting.
Speaking of famous musicians, we were talking about the Casey Chambers song that's used in this film. And
yes,
I never heard anything from her beyond Not Pretty Enough. But I do like the song.
Well, I think even in Australian radio, she is known, but I think that was the only song of hers really to be on the pop stations. Not that it's a pop song, but she's mainly country.
Country, yeah.
And she's still going to this day, I reckon.
Yeah.
And just doing the tours. We have a big country music festival that they do in Tamworth, I reckon, and she's like the female Keith Urban.
Oh, okay. But you're right, though, because you were saying earlier the way this song does match the Lola's character, and it's easy to see why she relates to it so much.
Yes, yeah. Where she's someone who can't understand why she's being rebuffed, not getting the boys the other girls get.
Right. And she says at one point, doesn't she say at one point, when I get married, my husband is going to sing this to me or something like that?
Yeah, they're going to dance at my wedding to this song.
They're going to, yeah. I don't think that's a very good first dance song to be played at a wedding.
Yes. Well, it's making it all about her.
Yeah.
It's did you ever watch the movie To Die For with Nicole Kidman?
Yeah.
Well, there's a scene in that at her husband's funeral where the song is All By Myself. You just made me think of that.
Yeah. There's an I can't remember what it was, but you just made me think of 'cause, especially when you said Nicole Kidman. When Leah Remini wrote about it in her book at Tom Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes, because he wanted to make the wedding all about him. He's I think did karaoke, and he sung the song that the ballad that was from
Top Gun.
oh, that's stupid. Top Gun. Yes.
I know it's by Berlin, but I can never remember the name of it.
Yeah, but it's not
Take my
even
breath
really
away.
a love. No, it wasn't that one. It was a song about a relationship that was over. It was like a
Okay.
song to be that. It was like a
break.
"Where Are You?"
Yep.
or
Oh,
breakup
okay.
song. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Leah wrote in her book about how what an unusual choice it was for a groom to sing to his new bride at their wedding.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was him breaking up with, now that he's got a new beard.
Does he?
Well, he married Katie Holmes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being.
I was being my
I
drag
thought you
name
were
facetious.
being, what do you call it? Speaking sincerely.
Oh, I hardly ever do that, so. Not that I'm a fair fan of Tom Cruise. He has produced some good work, so.
I really don't care for him.
Although I have never seen Top Gun.
Neither have I, nor do I care to.
And I don't anticipate it, nor would I watch the sequel.
I think there's just the one that just came out. The sequel.
No, they're making a sequel to it that's should be coming out, within a year or so. Or
Oh.
it had some delays, I reckon, because of COVID and everything.
Oh, I thought it had already come and gone. See, this goes to show how much
I feel like it's
I know
not, but
about
I
these
could be wrong.
movies.
That's how much it matters to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, just because I'm watching the movie as we're talking, I was going to let you know that Xavier was in a Frankenstein remake. Did you ever get to see that?
No, I haven't.
No, me
Is
neither. But I thought it's got the girl from Matrix in it, Carrie Ann Moss,
Is it a straightforward
and he plays
adaptation, or
the
is
monster.
it like a twist on it?
Well, I hadn't seen it myself, so but the reviews of it looked good. But yeah, it would be one that I would like to see because I don't mind the Frankenstein story. And the next one he'll be in is when it comes out is the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie.
Oh. And is he playing Elvis?
No, I would not be able to tell you who is. And I've seen the pictures, and he might look remotely like him, but I can't tell you who's playing him. I know Tom Hanks is playing, I think, Elvis's manager or something like that. But
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, I just in reference to the movie, I was going to mention because I only found out about it recently myself. Is there was a case in Britain where a man was charged with murdering his neighbour in the same way that Lola tortures Xavier. So he cut stuff into his chest and poured salt into the wound, and he was quite a big fan of the movie.
Oh. I didn't really think that sort of thing happened very often. Well, I definitely didn't think it happened anywhere near as often as people wanted you to believe, especially during the 80s when these kinds of movies
Yes.
were at their peak.
Well,
But yeah,
the
I
only
suppose
horror
it does
movie that I could
happen.
think, sorry, the only other horror movie I could think, and it's not even really a horror, but a dark black comedy was a Clockwork Orange that had an influenced murder. But
Did it?
yeah, and that's well, that was why Stanley Kubrick pulled it from being shown, from what I read. But in reality, the only films that I see that get replicated in real life are the car chase movies, and you don't see any up in arms about all the high speed deaths that happen after Gone in 60 Seconds come out. It's all just the horror movies that influence horror fanatics.
Not too much. It's supposed to be bad for you.
I never put that together, but I suppose that makes sense.
No, a lot of times, yeah. I remember, back when I think it was Fast and Furious 1 and Gone in 60 Seconds had come out, there was a lot more high-speed car accidents that had happened on the roads.
I can kind of... The sound that Xavier's character is making is definitely bringing back some memories of Motel Hell,
Yes.
I would think. But getting back to Wolf Creek and Greg McLean, have you seen the movie he directed called The Belko Experiment?
Yes, I have. Which I think some people say is a remake of a Japanese movie, but I forget what it's called.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's got some heavy inspiration from something similar, but
Oh.
not that he wrote it, but anyway.
I found it very hard to get through.
Yeah. Why was that?
I thought it was very, very dark.
Maybe we should go in.
A lot darker than Wolf Creek, which in itself was very dark. But yeah, the Belko Experiment was rough.
I think I took it as a not slapstick, but a lot of films.
Did you?
I would take on their comedic element, even though it's not a comedy movie. To me, I just sort of
I didn't
thing we
find
get
anything
spoken to
funny
at
at
work
all
in
in that
HR references. Oh,
Yeah.
just I think corporate comedy can become quite dark easy.
I suppose.
There was a British horror, I think it was called Severance, and that was about some corporate retreat where people started getting killed off one by one, and it had a comedy element, and then it starts with the dark killings, which is not very much fun, but it's the point of the horror.
I think I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Crown me.
I enjoy British suspense literature more than I enjoy the movies. 'Cause there's a lot of really, really good English suspense authors.
Yeah. But you'll need to send me a few links to some good authors. I'd like to get back into reading now that I've got my chance.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to send you a link. If you're into
I'm
true crime
strictly
horror,
audiobook now.
there was the yes, yeah. It's the audiobook to it's a book from Adelaide called Young Blood, which you may enjoy.
Is that an Anne Rule?
No, it's O'Brien is the author's name.
I think I've heard of it. But yeah, I've noticed that because I'm forced to be strictly audiobook these days. Books don't stick with me as much as they did when I was growing up, because I was always a big reader, and I still remember the plots and such from a number of books that I read when I was younger. But I was actually going through my Audible library earlier today, and I was going through some of the titles that I'd finished, and I didn't even remember them at all. I couldn't even tell you what they were about.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're reading a book, you're reading it in your own literary voice, and then that can help you imagine it in your own head. Whereas if you're doing it with the audio book, that might be why you were able to get into the books that you read younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of makes me sad.
You're not him. You're just another frog.
This is quite violent.
Well, I think it's... Some people might disagree. I think that there is a sparingness to the violence, but when it happens quite harsh.
Yeah, that's true.
I think what can make it seem worse is after the violence happens, you still see the effects of the violence. Like when you see shots of Xavier sitting in the chair, you see all the blood that's poured around him, even when he's not being touched.
Have you heard him speak at all about what it was like to make this movie?
In the DVD and the extras, they do have a Q&A at a table, and I'm sure he enjoyed the experience.
Really?
Yeah, everyone. And my only disappointment is that I wish that the actress playing Lola had done better than what she hasn't been picked up as much as what he has. I think the last major film she was in was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which I never saw.
No. Mm-mm.
I'm not really a fan of that type of comedy horror. I like the old Peter Jackson style comedy horror, but
yeah, but I don't think Peter Jackson is going to return to his roots anytime soon.
I hold out a hope in the same way I feel that Sam Raimi went back with Drag Me to Hell. I wish he would again, but yeah, it becomes hard once you know how to make a film using modern technology. It can almost be hard to make a film using vintage technology. Like it's something you need to pull yourself out of.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like those kinds of movies. The Lord of the Rings, fantasy wizardry type movies. I never got into the genre.
Yeah.
And with movies like Bad Taste and Brain Dead, one wouldn't think that he would be into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's the different sides of the dice.
Did you get Brain Dead uncut down there?
I would say so, but then I thought that I had the Loved Ones uncut. But we had the NC-17 version, and I remember, I don't know what it was like in America, but in Australia it had a like a paper mache cover where it was like a 3D textured image of someone opening her mouth and a zombie coming out.
Wow. No, I don't think we had anything like that. And was this the VHS or the DVD or?
No, it was the VHS. I reckon I did get it on DVD, but I've told you my ex stole a lot of my stuff. But the DVD was just a plain like a clear wrapper, usual thing.
Ah. No, I don't think we got anything.
It's on
like
it's
that.
on YouTube as well. So if anyone's interested in that.
You mean the movie or like a
an unboxing? No, the movie. I'd recently rewatched it. Yeah, it was on just the video of Brain Dead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've seen it.
Well, it's a fun little romp.
It is. It is fun. And the actress who played Lionel's mother in that ended up being a teacher in Heavenly Creatures.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, Heavenly Creatures I see as an expansion on that old horror where he was trying to make an adult horror. Whereas, yeah, like you say, The Lord of the Rings is sort of almost like, oh, wow, you're really into that as well.
Right. Yeah, Heavenly Creatures was an experiment in true crime as well.
Yeah.
Do you know how to turn it on? I'm not stupid.
And I don't know if you would know, but I feel that the brunette actress in it, so it's got Kate Winslet, and also I think the brunette is from 2.5 Men.
Yeah, Melanie Linsky.
I'll probably look this up later. Yeah, yes, yeah. Oh, thank you for knowing.
Yeah.
I would regret looking it up later and going, I was way off.
I like her a lot. I've seen her in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. She was in a movie that I really liked called Shattered Glass. And it was one of the only movies that I've liked with Hayden Christensen. The guy from, God, what's it called? Star Wars.
Hayden Panettiere.
No, the guy that played Anakin. I'm embarrassed to admit I've never really gotten into the Star Wars movies, but the ones I've seen I've enjoyed.
I saw the first Star Wars and that was it. I'm done. I'm done. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Your life's still going without it.
Yes. But Melanie Linsky, she plays more American characters, I think. She works pretty steadily.
I think so, yeah.
Because
which I'm glad. Like, I was quite happy when I found that out, that she was continuing working and doing well. Like, I thought she could have easily become one of those actresses that has a good local movie and then never manages to branch out. I know, like, in Australia, the film industry can be a bit hard to growing, so a lot of them head off to America to make their names. In Australia, a lot of like recently, one of the actresses was saying that a lot of Australians look at it as a hobby, and also there's a bit of a you shouldn't get ahead of yourself type of mentality that the audience can sort of place upon actors, and so that's why a lot of them tend to leave to find bigger roles overseas.
Yeah. I think one of the first things I saw her in was Detroit Rock City.
Oh, yeah. With Edward Furlong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't have a big part, but she was very pretty in it, and she was very homely in Heavenly Creatures. You wouldn't know that she's as pretty as she is.
I think that's why I was surprised to see that it was her, because I was like, oh, that's her.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was the hair or that made it look like she was heavier than she was, because she did look kind of doughy.
Well, it could be. I haven't seen Heavenly Creatures for such a long time, but it could be her wardrobe was. I feel that they dressed her in clothes that were a bit stumpier, like where it didn't give her good proportions, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, and I think that Kate Winslet's character was supposed to be so prim and proper, and they were polar opposites of each other.
Yeah.
So they probably dressed Melanie's character down to further showcase that. This is quite violent here. Because when you start to break out the power tools,
and
I don't think you find some of this stuff comical.
Well, not so much when he gets drilled in the head. Even though I'm laughing as I'm saying it, it's.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I went to school with him.
Maybe. Well, that would be. How much fun would that be, though, if he was just an awful, awful person to you and he bullied you in school? And then you got to see this movie and see him being tortured and getting drilled in the head and nailed to a chair.
Incidentally, now that you mentioned that, whenever I had bullies in school, I would sort of just write them into stories, but make them do embarrassing things as opposed to butcher them. I had that level of grace.
Yes. I never did that with bullies when I was writing stories in school, because I didn't. I don't know. I just had it in the back of my head that perhaps there was a chance that one of them would stumble upon it and read it, which is highly unlikely. But no, but at the same time, I didn't want them to think that, or I didn't want to consider them to be important enough to center a whole story around, or create a character after them, or generate a character because of them. I actually did, though, in a story that's in one of my collections, named a bully character after a kid who was not very nice to me. in 5th grade, and I used his real name and everything.
Oh, well.
I don't think he's gonna find out about it. I don't even know what the hell happened to him.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever looked.
No, I mean, generally for me, in regards to bullies and stuff, I wish them a good life.
Yeah, there you go.
It's done and dusted with.
Mm-hmm. Oh. This is creepy, Tony.
Are you in the dungeon?
Yeah. Yeah, and that rasping. Yeah.
And I see what you mean by
wheeziness.
the people under the stairs element. But
Yeah.
I think the first time I watched it, I think that was still sort of in my mind, and I was hoping that the kids downstairs would sort of help him out, because that's sort of what happened with Fool in the Wes Craven movie. But no.
Yeah. But I was thinking more along the lines of the ones that they disposed of, the bodies they disposed of, not the actual ones who were still alive.
Yeah.
And going through the walls. Because there's one scene where they're dumping one into a pit of bodies, and that's just what it reminded me of.
Yep. In the people under the stairs.
Mm-hmm. That has become a huge cult.
But I thought that was
too.
Fool's uncle. Yeah, well, I think that one was a bit ahead of its time, and especially with the recent, like Get Out and Us, social commentary horrors. I'm glad it's found some footing.
I think that was Fool's uncle. That was Ving Rhames.
Yes,
Pretty sure.
Apparently, that's going to be remade.
Is it?
Well, I'm on many Facebook horror fan sites, and a common question is, "What movie would you like to see remade?" And I wrote down that one, and someone responded with a link saying that it's looking to get remade. I think by Jordan Peele Company, by the production company.
Oh. It really makes me feel old that movies released in my lifetime are being remade.
Yes. And I feel that movie was sort of, as I was at an older stage in life as well. Like that came out in 93, I think, or it was in the 90s.
I think it was 92, 91, 92, something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long after Kelly Jo Minter was in Popcorn.
Oh, okay.
Popcorn is a movie that Tony saw based on my recommendations.
Yes.
And he enjoyed it, isn't that right, Tony?
I did, and no, it was a good. I was thinking of it as actually as I was watching Be Kind Rewind, because in regards to those movies that they screen in the theater, there's that amateurish, and that's quite endearing.
Yeah, those movies were supposed to parody the William Castle movies of the 50s and 60s that had gimmicks. Because William Castle was the king of the gimmick, and they're making fun of that. But Kelly Jo, I was actually saying this when I was talking to myself, because I recently did a commentary for A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and so Kelly Jo did that, and then she did Popcorn, and then The People Under the Stairs. So she did horror movies pretty close together, and I think if she would have stuck with them, she probably could have ended up being the first black scream queen.
Yeah.
I wish she had, because I really enjoyed her and everything that I've seen her in, especially Popcorn. I think she's really, really funny in Popcorn.
Yeah. Instead, we get Kelly Rowland in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, God. Did you have to?
I could have not. Although I thought the mother and father, well, the brother and sister of People Under the Stairs were very, very good. Although I was a bit disappointed. They were both Twin Peak alumni.
They were. They definitely played it over the top, which I think was what the characters were supposed to be. Especially the male half. He was quite deranged. It's been ages since I've seen that movie.
Well, I felt if they ever remade it, I felt that Jim Carrey would have been a good use to play that actor, just for how over the top and rubber-faced the character was.
I don't know.
Even though a lot of people don't like him as an actor.
Well, people don't like him as of late because he's got his head so far up his own ass.
Yeah, that's become a bit of a thing.
And then I'm going to stab Holly in the heart.
Although his artwork has been fun.
Oh, God.
He's been doing a bit of political artwork, but anyway. Back to the loved ones.
There are just certain things that I was better off not knowing.
Now, unfortunately, we've been watching different versions, but sort of syncing it up. So I'm pausing mine at the moment. Because I know that you've got an extra 2 minutes or something.
Yes, unfortunately, we didn't have the same version to watch together. I don't even know where you could have streamed it.
Because out of many horror movies, this one has one of my favorite endings. So,
I really think that I'm so unfucking believably done with Zencaster, though. Because I stopped using it to record and to mix because the quality was so shitty, and I was just using it as a means to connect with somebody else, but that hasn't been so great. This connection has been terrible. And
it's very Beirut in the 1990s, but that's all right. I've enjoyed it.
the last movie that I did with James, it was really bad, and I actually intended on the next time doing this using Skype. But I think that's definitely what I'm gonna have to do the next time because I can't deal with this bullshit. Oh,
What were you owing?
this movie, it's traumatizing me.
Now, something that
There's a
apparently I need
lot.
to correct for the American audiences is Australians
Okay.
generally, we do not go to prom, but but a lot of the descriptions say it's for prom.
It does, and I did notice that in the description it does say prom, but she says, "Will you go with me to the dance?"
Yeah, generally it was called the social or the oh no, the formal as well, because you dress in formal attire.
Mm. So since your summer is during our winter, is your school year different?
Well, our term one school year starts at the end of January and finishes early December. So our
So you go to school
our big break
pretty much
is
the
from
whole
December
year?
till January. Yeah, so 41 weeks out of the 52. Yeah.
Okay, that's just ridiculous.
What's it like in America?
You go in depending on usually the Catholic schools, or at least when I was in school, Catholic schools would go back in late August, and public schools would go back in September, first week of September, second week of September, the first day, usually the first day after Labor Day.
Okay.
And then we would go until second or third week of June.
Yeah. Okay, so you get quite a lengthy break. Although how you've described it is the opposite here, is that the public schools tend to go back first, and then the private schools, the Catholic schools and the private schools, they go back maybe a few days later and finish a few days earlier.
Yeah, the Catholic schools always finish because they went back earlier. They would always finish a bit earlier.
Yeah.
It wasn't much. It was like only a few days, but when you're a kid, that's an eternity because I remember feeling superior to my friends at the time who had gone to Catholic school, and they were going back in like August 30th or whatever, and I still had another week or week and a half of summer vacation. And then when June rolled around, they were getting out after about the first week, and I still had another week or two at most. I remember we had one year, because we had such severe weather during the winter, and we had so many snow days, that we had to go to school until June 31st. And that is the longest school year I've ever had in my life. And
Yeah.
it was not pleasant for me. I was not too happy.
We will never experience snow days. Well, in Adelaide. But the worst we get is we used to get days off when it was over 100 degrees, but Now everyone's got air conditioning, so can't even rely on that.
I think it all depends on what region you're from in the United States, because in certain areas the weather is so severe, pretty regularly, and they're so accustomed to it. But here we get snow, but depending on the storm, they'll have to call a state of emergency so that they could get the roads plowed and everything. Yeah. And generally we wouldn't have school. And it was funny because I was talking to James about this when we did the Child's Play commentary, because Child's Play is set in Chicago, and they're known for having pretty brutal winters. And there's a scene early in the film when Karen drops Andy off at school, and she goes to walk off, and she's walking on about 3 inches of snow. And I always remember thinking to myself when I watched that movie, if there was that much snow on the ground, we would not have school that day.
And from what I understand, it's a lot more slippery than what you'd think it is.
In Chicago?
Oh no, snow in general, because we don't get snow, so I've never experienced snow to be able to say.
Never ever?
No. But one day. We do have snowfields in Victoria, but South Australia it's a desert state.
Oh, I got so distracted talking about snow days that I neglected to realize that the movie is over. We are rolling credits on the loved ones.
And I didn't get to tell my joke about how she ended up looking like the first victim from It Follows at the end, but oh, that's all right. I think I'm the only one that would find that funny. So, anyway,
do you have any? Yeah, we can. I generally like to talk until the end of the credits, so we still
yeah. No, that's okay.
We still have some time. If you'd like to bestow upon us some more of your Australian humor.
A bit of Australianisms. Well, we did talk about how much we like swearing in Australia, but I'm not going to... And I did manage to control myself. I think I did do the one swear word while I was chatting with you. No, but
I told you could drop as many cunt bombs as you want. I don't give a fuck.
Well, I'm in an enclosed room, so I might end up smelling like fish if I were to do that. Though I do look forward to the new Baz Luhrmann movie with Xavier, and it was good to be able to chat this one with you. I'm glad that you liked it. I thank you for inviting me to talk along with it.
I like it. How do I say this? I like it as much as I'm able to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of it that I miss because I can't tell what's happening, and I don't have an audio described version of it, and I have to fill in the blanks with these movies with the plot summaries on Wikipedia.
Well, and really, the lead actor stops talking after like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's not much you can
With
go
good
by
reason.
way of dialogue, but yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I certainly, especially if it's a movie that doesn't have audio description, I seek out movies that are dialogue driven, and that's not always hard to. I mean, that's not always easy to come by, especially in the genre.
Yes.
Because a lot of the genre is based so heavily on violence,
Screaming.
so and screaming.
And yes.
Yes, and I get to miss a lot of the delicious gore and chases and nudity.
Though I will have to listen to your RuPaul movie and give that a watch.
Yeah, there's definitely. Well, are you? We say I don't know. Well, I don't, but it's become a thing, because there's been so many movies recently with full frontal male nudity now. So
Yeah.
whenever I hear a movie containing male nudity, whoever's speaking about it says, "Oh well, so and so hangs dong in it." I don't say that because I just think it's stupid. But in Star Booty, they really don't hang dong because the dicks are fully engorged.
Yeah.
And the first one you get to see is Michael Lucas, who is very well endowed.
Oh.
And porn star. He has a production company. I talk about him a bit during Star Booty, but yeah, he has a gay porn production company called Lucas Entertainment, which he still does movies. I think he's approaching 50. I don't know if this is true or not because I haven't seen him in a while. But I heard supposedly he doesn't look like himself anymore because he's had some extensive cosmetic surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, but who was really looking at his face?
Uh,
I'm sure you're right.
Oh goodness. So do you have any final thoughts on the movie or on Xavier or
No,
anything you'd like to add?
if you enjoy the movie, get the chance to watch The Devil's Candy. It's different from this one, but if you enjoy death metal,
very different.
Yes. And some of the reviews I read from users on that is that people are trying to say it's anti-death metal, but I think it is not. That the maker is quite a fan of it, and there is a distinct difference between the music that is played for the villain and for the hero. So,
I
Anyway,
don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that.
So, is there any final
death
thoughts you have
metals.
on The Loved Ones?
I think it, even though I wasn't able to see as much of it as I would have liked from what I was hearing, it is quite unsettling, and
Yes.
it's a pretty dark one, and at the same time, I respect it for its uniqueness and some of the differences in horror movie tropes that we were discussing earlier. It purposely veered away from them, and you know, and I think the Devil's Candy was also pretty unique on its own. So I'll definitely be interested to
It's
see
good
what
to see
else
he has
Sean
his own
Byrne
individual
has.
voice.
He definitely does, and
Yes.
you really wouldn't be able to connect that he had done this one if you watch The Devil's Candy, because they're vastly different.
Yes.
And not just in the production, because clearly this was an Australian production, and The Devil's Candy, that was an American production, right? Because it had all American actors in it.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think it was shot in your neck of the woods, but yeah, it's vastly different story wise. So, and it's good. It's good that that he's developing his own unique voice in the genre, and I think we need more originality.
Yes. Yes.
Because so
Absolutely.
much of
And not
what is
just
out these
copying
days
off
is
what has
just
been.
that's what I was about to say. So much of what is out there these days is just copy and paste, and we need more voices like that. So good for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we should wrap this up. I want
Sounds good.
to thank you. I want to thank you very much for joining me and offering your
And
insight
thank you
on
very much for having me.
the film. And yeah, it was a pleasure. And we will have to figure out how to do this again sometime, hopefully without glitches.
It just added to the experience.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here, and I want to say thank you again to you for joining me, and thank you to all of the listeners. And until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.